This should come as no surprise to you, but the Sabres wore black and red, and they won. Sabres shut out the Avalanche. We'll recap it coming up on a fun game to talk about here on Locked On Sabres.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL, and you will get $20 off your first ticket purchase. Well, it is not a surprise, as I just mentioned, but a 4-0 win. It's not a surprise in that the Sabres won 4-0. Wearing the black and red, wearing the goatheads. What might be a surprise is they just dominated what I think, and what a lot of people think, is the best team in the National Hockey League in the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche were well rested. They had not played since Thursday. They are not playing again until Wednesday. They're in the middle of a nice little break here. Yeah, they traveled out east, but they looked like they played a back-to-back. The Sabres were all over them at times in this game, and they also got some great goaltending. Time to give UPL some flowers for this game for sure. Not signing an apology form. I need like 2 solid years before I'm willing to do that. But definitely we'll talk about UPL playing so well. In this one, break down some of the goals. There's one Sabre that we have to ask the question if he is in the middle of a breakout season right now. That's coming up. And then a little bit of a preview of what's coming this week and some important players returning to the lineup, one in particular, in Mr. Devin Levi. We'll talk about that. But let's start with UPL, and we'll start with my 3 stars of the game. Sabres 4, Hurricanes nothing. And actually, before I get to my 3 stars, let's go through some of the numbers and kick it off that way, because I thought the Sabres were playing pretty even with Colorado all the way through, and they did win on the scoreboard, but shots on goal in favor of the Sabres, 29-23. Scoring chances at 5-on-5 were even, 32-32. Shot attempts in this game. Excuse me, I think I had that backwards. Shot attempts are 32-32 at 5-on-5. Scoring chances in this game were 20 for Colorado, 15 for Buffalo, and then expected goals for at 5-on-5, 1.8 for the Avalanche, 1.5 for the Sabres. But look at that big number in the second line. 0 for 3 on the power play for the Sabres, 0 for 6 on the power play for the Colorado Avalanche. 0 for 6. And the Buffalo Sabres continue to turn the tides on that special teams unit. They are one of the best penalty killing teams in the NHL. Coming into Sunday's game, they were the 6th best team in the league by penalty kill percentage. Going 0 for 6, the way I'm looking at it from the number and the site I'm looking at right now, they're going to jump Calgary. They're number 5. I don't think they'll get, they might get all the way up to 2 when you wake up on Monday morning. The site I'm using doesn't update those penalty kill stats till the next day. But the Sabres are one of the best penalty kill teams in the NHL right now. And last year were they dead last? Yeah, they were near the bottom. They weren't dead last. But last year, 5th from the bottom at 74%, 73%. And this year they're over 90. That's what a job. Eric Johnson deserves some credit for that. Jordan Greenway deserves credit for that. It's a continuing trend, and it's a good one, because if you want to keep the puck out of the back of your net, one way to do that is to stop the other team from scoring on the power play, and the Buffalo Sabres have done that. My 3 stars of the game, one big reason why they were able to shut the door on the power play and in general with a shutout victory, was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. What a job at UPL. My last show, I preached nervousness about UPL having to play and having to play a lot. With Levi being out for the time being, although it sounds like he'll be back soon, and with Eric Comrie being week to week, UPL against the best team in hockey. Didn't think that was going to go well, and it couldn't have gone better. Wasn't tested in a big way, but a 23 save shutout, turned away every shot that he saw. It's the first shutout of his career, the second of his pro hockey career. He did have one with the Amerks in the 2021-22 season. And he was sharp from the beginning. I mean, tracking pucks, especially the Avalanche in like that in the 16-minute mark or to the 17-minute mark of the first period, they were all over the Sabres. They were pressing. Shots were going off the boards behind them, weird pucks bouncing out in front, and UPL was all over it. It was a scramble for like over a minute. And Luukkonen was tracking the puck well, making some nice saves. There was one play where an Avalanche forward tried to kick it out in front for a backdoor pass. Luukkonen saw it coming, stuck his paddle out, and just shoveled it back into the corner. Like, back you go. He was great in that first opening couple of minutes because, hey, we've seen it this year. If the Sabres get down early, it's a much tougher game for them than it is for some other teams. And Luukkonen did a great job to keep it a 0-0 game early on. Halfway through the first period, by the way, there was a nice give and go between Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen, who's an elite goal scorer in this league. Rantanen, clear cut, scoring chance from the slot. Luukkonen turned him away. Again, he was tracking pucks well all night. He was showing off his athleticism and showing that it doesn't have to go down as a complete and utter disaster if he is the one that has to play in goal. So a great job by Luukkonen in this game. He was absolutely my number one star of this game. Bar none. Like, did a great job. I have nothing bad to say. I mean, obviously you had a shutout, but keep playing like that and you'll have more starts from UPL coming your way. My number 2 star of the game was Jeff Skinner. 2 assists in the game, and he led the game in expected goals for percentage. 90.2% of the expected goals when he was on the ice were expected to go in favor of Buffalo. And then JJ Peterka with a goal and 5 shots on goal as well. He is my number 3 star of the game. And that lines up with what the 3 stars of the game were for what the media voted, although they flip-flopped Skinner and Peterka. I'm putting Skinner number 2 because I thought he was contributed in a big way, got an assist on the Peterka goal, was creating some chances. Turnover at the blue line that led to a goal. Skinner was awesome. Question on Peterka. Is JJ Peterka having a breakout season? And I think for now, the answer is yes. Peterka scores his 4th goal of the year. And through 9 games, that's a 36-goal pace. He is already almost a third of the way to where he was last year, and we're not even at double-digit games played. His speed is pushing defensemen back. He seems more confident to enter the offensive zone with speed, to attack the middle of the ice with speed. He filled out a little bit in terms of his strength and his physicality. So it seems like in that way, he's more confident to go over the middle of the ice, that if he gets hit, it's not going to be the end of the world for him. And he's finishing on chances. That's another thing. Like, he's such a quick stick handler and a fast skater that I think of those 2 things first for his game. How fast he is, how quick he is, and how fast and quick his hands are. But he's got a good shot. I mean, we saw it last year a few times on the wing on the power play. Peterka is a good finisher, and he's showing that this year. Wrist shots where he's beating goaltenders clean. He doesn't have any fluky goals. He's cleanly beating the goaltender. So a great job by him again. The Sabres, 12-1-1, wearing black and red, dating back to last season. 12-1-1. And that is a goal, and they have outscored their opponents 65-36. These are good teams they're playing in black and red. I mean, the Islanders they beat this year. They made the playoffs. The Avalanche won the Cup 2 years ago and are an elite hockey team. Like, they're beating good teams. 12-1-1. I mean, it's not a coincidence, right? I mean, I asked this last year. It's not a coincidence, right? Like, I do think, I saw a couple people point out on Twitter, like, when the Sabres have more than 15, I think the number is 15,000 fans in the building, they typically win. And when they wear black and red, they typically have more than 15,000 people in the building. So is it as simple as that? The correlation is fans show up, Sabres play well at home. Sabres wear black and red, fans show up. That might be the whole thing. That might be the whole thing. And in this game, 15,700 fans. I was worried that they wouldn't get a big crowd because you're competing with the NFL Sunday. I know the Bills weren't playing, but they did a good job filling it up. 82% of the building was full. So there's something to it. It's not a giant coincidence, I think, that they're 12-1-1 wearing the goat heads. When they are the goat heads, they are the best team in hockey. Find me no one's got a better win percentage than that. 12-1-1. Nobody's got a better than a plus 29 goal differential in only 14 games. They are an elite hockey team when they wear black and red. It's amazing. It's funny. I've wanted to see black and red back for years, and I don't think it's all the way. Like, it's not 100% serious, but it's getting to a point now where you can't really say it's a coincidence anymore because it's so good. It's such a good record. 12-1-1. The Sabres, by the way, I should have had this ready for you. I can get it up for you very quick. The next time they will wear black and red, how long do we have to go? 15 times, I know, in general. All right, the next time they're wearing them are, beautiful, November 3rd, Friday. The next time they play at home, they're in black and red, and then they go about a month until December 9th against Montreal. But, all right, Friday night, back in black and red. They can't lose that game. They can't lose to Philly wearing black and red, especially on a Friday night. The building will be full. All right, anyways, time out here. When we come back, I'm going to break down the Sabres' goals in this game one by one. Some really nice plays by different players in this one. And then a little bit of a preview of what's to come this week. That's coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Hey, that Friday night game, black and red, Philadelphia, not a great team. There's a likely win, and that could be a real fun night in the arena. If you want to be in there, go check out the Game Time app. You don't have to worry about buying tickets on the Game Time app to not just the Sabres, but your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. If you go through the app, you look through tickets available. You don't have to play the guessing game of where you're going to be sitting, what your view is going to be. Maybe you like to be a little bit higher up so you can see everything. Maybe you like to be down by the glass, even though maybe you want to be on the glass, but you don't want to be where the glass is rounded so that it's hard to see in the top right corner. Well, with Game Time, it's super easy because they show you exactly the angle and the view of what your seat's going to look like right there on the app when you're going through it. Also, right up to the hour of the event, you'll find last-minute tickets. And sometimes even after the game has started, you'll still find tickets on Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Sabres 4, Avalanche nothing. Great game by Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. But the Sabres got some goals, and they had some nice goals. Starting with, I mentioned Peterka. Talked about him a little bit. Fourth goal of the year. He presses on Josh Manson, the Avalanche defenseman, with his speed. The puck gets caught in Manson's skates. Peterka grabs it, cuts to the left, and is able to beat Alex Georgiev on the goal. A great job by him. The Sabres' second goal of the game. Skinner, by the way, getting the only assist on the Peterka goal. Casey Mittelstadt nets his second goal of the year. Great job by Mittelstadt. He's assisted by Jeff Skinner and Henry Jokiharju, but this goal is all about Mittelstadt. He roars down on a 2-on-1, and Mittelstadt, you know what? There were times in the past with him that he was just a little too pass happy. And I get it. That's the type of player he is. He's a playmaker. He is a pass-first guy. I mean, look at his stats from last year. 15 goals and 44 assists? Like, triple the number of assists that you're going to find goals for him. But sometimes you just got to rip it. And in this situation, Mittelstadt comes down on a 2-on-1, and the defenseman is begging Mittelstadt to pass it through him. He is taking the pass away. Here, come on, Casey. I dare you to try to saucer this over me. And Mittelstadt doesn't take the bait. He just comes down the wing, he waits for the right angle, and he rips it. Wrist shot over the shoulder of Alex Georgiev, buries it, a nice finish from him, and just was not hesitant about it. He was very decisive, and that's what you want to see from Mittelstadt, and I think that shows part of his growth as a player from, failed prospect to legitimate top 6 player that the Sabres are deep enough that you'll find him sometimes on the third line. Great job by Mittelstadt there. Third goal of the game. Tyson Jost is on the board for his first goal of his season. A great finish by Jost, but the best play here is by Alex Tuch. Alex Tuch coming down the wing. He got his eyes in the side of his head. He knows where Jost is. He knows the right pass to make. And Tuch had a really nice game here. He almost scored in the first period, too. He draws the defenseman in a little bit to the wall, opens up Jost, behind the back pass with the backhand to Jost, who's in the slot. And a great job by Jost to bury this thing. I don't remember, and I meant to look back. Did Jost have it hit anybody on the way through? I'm watching it back right now, and I don't believe that it did. I think he just beat Georgiev clean. And Jost, listen, he's a fine offensive player. Like, he's asked to play a bottom six role for this team. But remember, he was a first-round pick coming into the league because he has some offensive skill. And that's why I like him as a bottom six player. He's not useless in the offensive department. He'll bury one like this once in a while. And it's a really nice shot from him. I'm watching it back one more time in slow-mo, and I think he just beats him clean. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section or on Twitter, but I think he just beats Georgiev clean from the high slot. Again, nice pass from Tuch and a great shot from Tyson Jost. I would keep him in the lineup. I think he deserves it after that game. I thought he played well overall. And one other play that wasn't a goal that I want to mention here, Zach Benson, man, came real close to getting his first goal as a Sabre. Kyle Okposo behind the net on the power play. Benson all alone in front. He goes backhand, forehand, backhand. Super quick, stick handling, and he gets robbed by Georgiev with the glove. And by the way, that was right after Benson almost set up Peterka for a goal. I thought Benson had some nice moments in this game. He took a couple of bad penalties, a little bit of an up and down performance, I thought, from him, but there were some really nice moments. His expected goals for percentage in this game was not good, 17%. So in that department, very, very weak. And now that I'm looking at it, Jost actually had a pretty bad game, too, in that department. So the advanced stats say those two did not play well. But anyways, Benson came really close. And then Dahlin, empty netter. Finds it from the back end. Second goal of the year. Tage Thompson gets on the board with an assist. If you're going to get an empty netter, you like to have it be two guys that are trying to up their point total as the season goes on. So Dahlin from Thompson gets the fourth goal. All right, what's to come this week? Well, we've already talked about it a little bit, but the biggest thing is how the Sabres, to me, will operate in goal. So a little bit of a preview on that, and also a little run through of what happened in the division this weekend. That's coming up on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Not just hockey, but football as well. A lot of action this Sunday. So score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers are getting $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, this is the time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, wide range of betting options. Futures are my favorite, but you also have spreads, player props, over-unders, plenty more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the National Football League. Final segment here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, Sabres 4 and the Avalanche 0. They beat an elite hockey team. So that's a good win. This week, the Sabres have a back-to-back against the same opponent. Excuse me, not a back-to-back in terms of the same night. Home and home. Let's just call it a home and home. Wednesday night, the Sabres are at Philadelphia, and then Friday night, they are hosting Philadelphia. The Flyers are off to a better start than I certainly would have anticipated, and a lot of people would have anticipated. 4-3-1, nothing crazy. 9 points in 8 games. The Sabres have 8 points in 9 games, so relatively similar. They have a +3 goal differential, and they are right there in the thick of it early on the playoff race for the Metropolitan Division. They have not fallen back just yet. I think that will happen. I don't think this team has the talent to keep up all year long, but they're off to a pretty good start. More of a preview on them coming to you before Wednesday. The big news for the Sabres to track this week is, are we going to get Devin Levi on Wednesday or Friday? Devin Cooley, the call up from Rochester, has already been sent back to Rochester, which I think gives a little bit of an indication that Levi will be ready this week to at least back up, if not start. Don Granato said that he believes that Levi will practice in full on Tuesday, which would put him in line to start Wednesday or Friday. I might want to guess Luukkonen gets the Friday game in Philadelphia. You give Levi a couple of practices to get his feet back under him, shake off a little rust from not being on the ice for a week and a half, and then you play him Friday night at home in the black and red against Philadelphia. That would be my guess for what you see happen. But I guess they could just go right back to Levi. Chad DeDominis has talked about this a little bit. they might be asking too much for Levi and his workload. And that was always a take, right? That was always a thought. Hey, can you really ask a kid that's never played more than 35 games in a season, because that's the college schedule, to play 50 himself? I don't think you could. It's risky to do that, and they already have an injury to him, so I might want to think they start playing it a little bit safer with him. And if that's the case, then I think Friday is definitely more likely for him than Wednesday. But that being said, they also play Toronto on Saturday night in Toronto, so maybe you go Luukkonen, Levi, Luukkonen, or maybe you go Luukkonen, Levi. But he's going to get one of the 3 games. I doubt 2, but I would bet one of the 3. But that's just my guess. And a quick sail across the Atlantic Division. Nobody from the Sabres Atlantic Division was in action on Sunday, but Saturday, Friday night, by the way, the Ducks with that comeback over the Bruins. Saturday, the Red Wings have now lost 3 in a row. And that's happening right as expected, right? That they would fall back to earth. I don't think that's a good hockey team. Everybody knew they were getting outshot like crazy, 5-0-1, whatever they started, that was going to come back to earth. They lose to Boston 4-1. Boston is 7-0-1, but they haven't played anybody. Boston hasn't played anybody. So I want to reserve judgment on them a little bit, but it does seem like they're going to be right back to what they normally are. The Maple Leafs lose to the Predators 3-2. Toronto's off to a little bit of a rocky start. I'm just not betting that they'll be bad. Ottawa gets back in the win column, 5-2 over Pittsburgh. They did get outshot 42-26. That's the story of Pittsburgh season. Pittsburgh is losing games. They're last in the Eastern Conference, only 6 points, but they're crushing teams at 5-on-5. So I think they're going to come back to earth. Maybe. Actually, you know what? Don't quote me on that. Although I guess you could because I said it. But even though they're outplaying teams at 5-on-5, their goaltending is letting them down. And that might not come back. Like, goalie really could sink them all year long. So keep an eye on that. All right. Montreal, by the way, gets a win over Winnipeg. So they continue to, keep it rolling here. And what was there one other? Florida over Seattle. Florida's going to be fine. All right, that's it. We'll talk to you next time to talk more about Sabres and Flyers, and maybe a little bit of who's on pace for what, and just an overall look at where we are 9 games in, because we're about a 10th of the way through the season, so it's worth doing that. Thanks for listening. Any mailbag questions, feel free to give us a comment in the YouTube section or on Twitter at Locked On Sabres. Thanks for listening. This has been the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.